Anyway, here I am in Quiet Land, and we're playing Dig a Pony by the Beatles. We've got this, our first discussion was memorization stage versus playing stage. I want you to work through this stuff in very small sections, finishing as you go, doing each section each little riff 2 times more than you would naturally be inclined to, even if it feels redundant. So here's us. There's the first one. I'm starting on G, and then this is a slide that sounds like one note. Like we said, kind of, if you just didn't ever slide with your index finger, aside from accenting notes by sliding into them, like I'm going, that's when you use your index finger for a slide mode, if I'm generalizing. Anyway, so here we're going, and that was, and that leaves us chilling here on E, where we can just do the same thing, starting on D. So perfect example. If you get really into the first riff, you know the second riff. Doing them consecutively would take 500% longer than learning this one, realizing you already know that one, according to muscle memory studies about stringed instruments and learning stuff. So there's those two, and here's a suggested practice tempo. And really try to make those slides, I just kind of did a bad one, make those slides sound like one note. You know, the melodies, like if we were in the major scale, it would be, your major scale box 1, it would be like, like just recognizing structurally that this is the same as going, like, there I am in my, your normal, like I'm playing the major scale stuff, so it's just, this is just a cooler way to articulate it that sounds more lyrical for having slides. So there's that, and I'd really like you to get kick-ass up to there before you try the rest of it. Then we're starting on A for this portion, which I tried in 2 minutes in your video. I'm going, excuse me, and there's our first 2-note sounding slide. That went, no. So, just do that really quick, and then we've got, but each one of those is like a single notey sliding. You'll be able to hear it trying to duplicate them, and that's ultimate goal is, just go Beatles, I Dig a Pony, and being able to play along with the intro. So that was, but those are like, they're really fast hammer-ons that when you do it slower, it's kind of hard to articulate. But the melodies, but it's kind of like those. We want that type of hammer-on that sounds like a single note, anyway. So there we go. That gives us. Excuse me. What am I doing? And there we are. One more time. Sorry. So just make sure that it sounds like a single note. And the second thing there. Great. So there's the first thing we did. At about 4 minutes in, we talked about the blues scale versus the minor pentatonic. In A, we were just going, there's how you play the minor pentatonic and adding the flatted fifth. Like here's a normal fifth on the power chord. And that's also called a tritone. So it's going to be, and sometimes you'll, use your ring finger for that, for slides and so forth. And I did actually write the scale independently of the song. That's the last thing on the first page. So just, realize that's something you can always do when you're playing pentatonic phrasings. Just throw that in, and it'll go from to. Anyway, so then our positional thing that we're doing as opposed to up and down the fretboard is this Life by the Drop that goes. So for starters, that was just walking up the scale. Then we've got, and that was where we were like 1 E and a 2 and, so stop and get good at that. Then we've got So that had the same, but before it we went. So that's the stuff on the second line. And when you're initially working on this, you're not going to be playing the first line. You're just going to be going. It's distracting to do the part you already went over, and then you put them together, including pausing in between if you need to. Here's what we got so far. And then what remains is, so that was like an index note, and then I pulled off, and then octave. If you want to go, that's okay, but I think our goal here is just to do index ring aside from that exact note right there. So there it was, in actual tempos, like. But any tempo is cool. Next subject, which we're bringing up exactly at 6 minutes into the video, is using the pentatonic box for major keys, which is a cool thing to do. You know, if I take this blues phrasing and I'm like minor, and I go, you know, like it goes from sounding all dark and minor-y to like apple pie. So the stereo instructions for A minor pentatonic, I put my first finger on A on the 4th string and I play blues box stuff. For major scales, it goes, I put my pinky on that and then play your same. Recognizing where we are geographically is right behind your main number 1 major scale that you probably use, and it's the first one you learn. So anytime you're playing that major scale, you can dip back and have the blues box behind it, which only works in like, you know, G and below, where G would be open string involvement. So there you go. Structurally, try to fuck around a little bit with going between those two. And, you know, there's which notes do I put in to make it the full major scale, different conversations, kind of. Yeah, you know, so there we go. So structurally, that's what we added. And in the grand scheme, what we want to do is have a major scale across all 4 strings and the pentatonic version of that. And then, you know, so what we did here is we focused on the major scale one that you already know here, and we just focused on the pentatonic one here because you already know that fingering. There'd be a way to fill in all the other notes. But yeah, there you go. Anytime you're playing your number 1, you got your blues box right behind it. Anytime the song's in a major key, just throw your pinky on the root and play that blues box shit. It's going to sound really cool. And it's really interesting to play riffs that you're used to playing in minor pentatonic and major and seeing how it all syncs up, because it'll still sound cool and it'll still sound correct. Cool, so I didn't really see too much right hand stuff that I want to get on you about too much, so I think it's mostly a left hand thing. And you know, like we talked about in the lesson, not sandwiching up your hand subconsciously, which is, you know, if you just do 3 fingers ready to do stuff, your thumb will naturally go to the position it needs to be in. And it's not like we're always in classic thumb position, but right now it behooves you to work on some stuff that's in classical thumb position so that your index ring type runs like we were just doing here feel more natural. Good shit, so there we are.